Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Couch GMs podcast. It's Monday, September 29th, 2025. I'm your host, George Kurt, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap. How you doing today, Cody?
I'm doing as good as you can be for spending 4 hours watching a football game that could have been resolved with an email.
That is a great way to put it. I know I wasn't even texting you during that game, but I was texting with friend of the show, Kempy, and we literally were like, why did we stay up to watch this? This was a waste of time.
Yeah. Gotta love a 40-40 tie.
Second highest tie in NFL history for all those scoregami buffs out there. I don't know if it actually was scoregami or not, but I'm assuming it was.
I'm gonna double check. I feel like it has to be since it's ties already typically are scoregamis, but 40-40, just another Packers special teams blunder. I don't know what happened in the last 2 minutes of overtime. You get inside the 30 with 2 minutes left, and you get one shot in the end zone on a play you shouldn't have taken because you wasted too much time.
Yeah, did you have a heart attack with 1 second left when the ball hits the ground?
I mean, I was like, oh, here. I said, here's the game. So I don't know if I had a heart attack. I was like, okay, they just want to win. And then yeah, I don't even understand. Like, luckily that it hit off the back of a Cowboys player and went right to the ground to give us 1 second left.
Yeah, it was not well played, but the entire game had no defense essentially, and it was a whole entire train wreck, honestly. It was good for fantasy owners unless you were facing somebody on that.
Or had Tucker Kraft.
Or had Tucker Kraft. He's the one person, I guess, that didn't do much of anything.
Well, he had a solid game for a tight end. I think it was still like 8 points, half point PPR, but tackled twice inside the 1 yard line. Once was a touchdown overturned. You have a 2 touchdown tight end day. That's a pretty big week. So
a 1 touchdown tight end day is a pretty big week most weeks too, but we'll get more into that stuff and the rest of the week as we move through our episode. Why don't I get us through the rest of the intro here? Make sure
it was a scoregami.
It was not?
It was.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That makes sense. Make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. Join us live Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30, where you can ask us questions live on the air, or you can hit us in the DMs or comments on our socials, and we will get to as many questions as we can. In the meantime, Cody, what's happening? Start off really quick with news that happened before the majority of the week 4 slate. The NFL is not going anywhere. NFL in Brazil is not going anywhere. They announced that there's a multi-year deal to play at least 3 regular season games over 5 seasons in Rio de Janeiro. So new location, same country. And I would assume a lot of those games are still going to be week 1 games because of the travel.
Yeah, and I take that as in at least 3 games. Like, I didn't read the report. I'm just going based on the headline. I'm going to guess Sao Paulo is, the other 2. Like, I think we're going to see Brazil for the next 5 years at least.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way, but they could have to play 3 in Rio, and then the other 2 they could still play in Sao Paulo. So yeah, no. And I think that like Friday opening weekend, they kind of like have had success with. It adds an extra game, adds extra hype to week 1. With the travel, it gives teams an extra time to get back, but it also, with it being week 1, you're not pressed up against another game beforehand. Like, I think that's kind of like they found their sweet spot and it works, and they're just going to roll with it.
Yeah, unless those other seasons we start to introduce like the expanded world, like, I mean, a game in Tokyo would be sick.
They are doing a game in Australia, aren't they?
I know there was talks about, I don't know if it was rumored, if they've officially announced when, but I was going to say Australia would be a great one. Like, I'm going to get to a game abroad. That's going to be on my bucket list. I mean, honestly, Tokyo would probably be like incredible.
They are playing a game 2026 in Melbourne, Australia. The Rams are the home team. Don't know the opponent yet, obviously, with not knowing the full schedule for next year. But there you go.
Yeah. Heck, we might start seeing like that Saturday too. Oh, I guess I would infringe on, college football, but like, or maybe once we get to that 18th game, I'm just like spitballing ideas. We're already off the rails 5 minutes in. We get to the 18th game. Do you think what about an international week? Everybody plays international, mandatory bye week after it. I think George froze because of how good my idea was. So looks like he is dealing with some technical difficulties, which means I have to carry the show. So please join us in the comments. If George comes back, we'll go back to that question. But let's start recapping some injuries that happened over the course of the week 4 week in the NFL. And I think the biggest news, the most devastating one, so to speak, would be Malik Neighbors tore his ACL, out for the season. The MetLife turf, strikes again. George is now moving, so he might be back.
I'm back.
Awesome. So just so you know, I started to transition us to injuries, but I want to circle back to the games because I just on the fly thought of a fun idea, and I want to get your thoughts.
Okay.
And if I don't know where you cut out at, but minimum. So they're doing Brazil. We talked about how great like Tokyo, Australia would be. We get the 18th game in the NFL season. It means we're going to expand to 2 bye weeks. What if we did an international week followed by like a mandatory bye? Whether that's maybe not all the games, maybe they'll because they don't want to have no games one weekend, but like instead of like a game here, like we have like 8 games international. We have a morning slate, afternoon slate, however it lines up, but including that in the 18th game, I think would be a lot of fun.
That would be. I mean, I think part of if they go to the 18 weeks and the double bye week is going to be introducing a lot of international. So I don't think it would be a bad thing to have multiple in one week to kind of lessen the impact. It would be horrible for fantasy if the next week's bye-mageddon and it's like 8 teams on bye instead of 6 even. But that sounds like something that us as fantasy managers figure out and fly.
Yeah, unless they they kind of did like a baseball, basketball, like international week followed by, I'm going to say Pro Bowl, but like their all-star break, right? So it's like a bye week, but instead of having games, it's like the all-star festivities. And then so everybody's off. And then that could be a fun way to do it as well. But that's a lot of
19 NFL weeks over 20 weeks with a bye week in the middle for everybody.
Yeah. And then the other bye is spread out.
Interesting. I wouldn't hate that idea, actually.
Guess we'll have to wait and see. But let's talk about stuff that's actually happening in the NFL right now. I talked about it before George rejoined us. The Malik Neighbors injury, tough blow for the Giants. They did get their win against the Chargers, who lost their left tackle, which was a big reason why they were unable to compete to make that comeback. But this Malik Neighbors injury, out for the season. What are your thoughts?
Huge blow to the Giants, huge blow to fantasy owners that had drafted Malik Neighbors in the first round. And it's like I've been trying to like spend my day coming up with answers on like, replacements and what you can really do. You're kind of just stuck in this case. There's not really a Giants player that I love to step right back in. Obviously, losing your first round pick, there's no easy way to lessen that blow. So if anyone's out there, like, with ideas like, do I need to make a trade? Should I trade someone for depth or anything like that? We're obviously willing to listen, but this one hurts.
Yeah, it definitely hurts there. And we're going to talk waiver wire a little bit later too. And obviously like guys like Wan'Dale Robinson and some other Giants might be on that list. We'll break it all down for how much fab or how high of a priority you should make any of those guys. But let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens. The now 1-3 Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson dealing with a hamstring injury. The Ravens are really banged up. And I don't want to spoil the next segment, which is reality check. But this team is starting to feel like last year's 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar hamstring injury. It sounds like there's a good chance he misses next week, or at least there's a chance he misses next week. They just named Nnamdi Madubuike, their star defensive lineman, out for the season with a neck injury. They lost Roquan Smith for at least a week or two with another soft tissue injury. I know they had someone else on the defense with an elbow injury. Like, that game was a disaster for them in more ways than one. And I mean, I want to say it was a get-right game for the Chiefs, but at the same time, it was the Ravens just had everything piling up on them too.
Yeah, so I know there was some speculation that if the game was closer, Lamar would have played through, or and we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But what is your concern level with Lamar Jackson's potential injury?
Not super concerned. I mean, obviously, if he misses a week, trying to find that fill is going to be important. But long term, I don't think this is going to be a big deal. I think if they're worried about him re-injuring it or having an issue, they're just going to sit him out. I don't think they care that they're 1-3. They're going to make sure that he's good for the long term because they still think they can make a run and make a push in the playoffs, and they can't afford an extended absence. But for fantasy, like I don't think anything is changed once Lamar's back. But if Lamar's gone for a week, Derrick Henry's probably still fine. You have to start thinking about like Zay Flowers. I don't know what you're going to do there. I would probably take the tight ends off the dartboard that week.
So I think that's interesting, but I also wonder because their backup is Cooper Rush, which is, we're so accustomed to Tyler Huntley over the last couple seasons, a guy that was no one is Lamar Jackson, but a very similar play style. But like Cooper Rush, we saw him really good in Dallas, but they almost have to change their, like, I feel like if they had a full week to prepare, the Ravens offense would look a lot different. And I think if like you would still trust the tight ends. I think you'd even trust Zay Flowers in that. Like when Cooper Rush was playing last year, you still trust CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. Like I know it was a different, situation, different team, but you have the running back and Derrick Henry to keep it going. So, but I find it very fascinating that for the first time in a long time, the Ravens don't have a backup with a similar play style skill set to Lamar that like when he goes out mid game, it's like how much of what we planned can he actually run?
It's very true. And no, you have me fighting in my head now with the whole like I felt like this was the Zay Flowers breakout year. Like I was hoping this year for Zay Flowers was similar to the last year in Baltimore for Hollywood Brown. I think I've said that before. And if that's the case, and they have a quarterback who is actually proficient in throwing the ball, even if they have to go to more of a traditional style offense, it could work out fine. And I mean the tight ends, maybe you convince me because it's the tight end position.
That's
Like
fair
you're
too.
not expecting a whole lot, so maybe you're fine with at least Andrews. I don't think likely has done enough to really warrant even consideration for a tight end spot yet. But if Lamar misses a week, I'm sure you and I are going to have some pretty good debates on like where Zay Flowers falls in the pecking order. Because so far he's been good enough that like he went from being drafted on most people's bench to a borderline wide receiver 2.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we're going to talk more Ravens coming up in just a little bit. But so let's talk about the 49ers, another team that is dealing with some injuries. Ricky Pearsall, he did go, but left the game with a knee injury. And then Brock Purdy has some toe soreness, did not practice. They'll be the Thursday night game, which we'll talk on Thursday about them as we preview week 5. But are we concerned about this Brock Purdy injury, like peaking up again? Like, not that, I just feel like he's had a really tough stretch here with injuries over the last couple weeks or last couple seasons, excuse me.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think I'd be worried about the Purdy injury if they didn't play Thursday, but with the way that it was.
Oh no. I think George is having another technical difficulty here on the podcast. So while
I'm
you're
here.
back. Okay.
I don't know what exactly you guys heard, but I said I'm concerned just because they play Thursday. So it's like I'm concerned they're going to go back to Mac Jones for a week. Not that I think that affects too much in the fantasy value for the other guys, because Mac Jones did fine in there. But it's weird the way they brought it up makes it sound like they're considering sitting Purdy for a week. And I don't know if it was discomfort or if it was just soreness, because I mean he does have an injury there. Soreness is typical.
Yeah, the way they brought it up, it definitely concerned me for his potential to, miss out on this week as well, especially being a quick turnaround. So I'm concerned, but we'll talk more about the 49ers in general on Thursday's show as we preview that game. You want to do some fan questions before we hit our next segment?
Yeah.
All right. Weasel Town Gaming throughout there. Obviously, Robinson is the next move. on paper, probably right. Most likely right, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then I don't know how to pronounce your username, but you said you started Lad McConkey over George Pickens. Ouch. I understand how that one feels this week. So panic meter over Lad McConkey. Should you trade him for Tootin? For Tootin. So I think that might be a little bit of an extreme overreaction, especially with how well Travis Etienne is playing. Like, I think Tootin is a solid value, but I think there is still a chance for a higher upside for Lad McConkey on a week-to-week basis than a Tootin, unless Etienne went down. And I know it has not been great this opening month for Lad McConkey, just based on where you drafted him and the expectations. But he only has 10 less targets than Quentin Johnson, who leads the team, 8 less than Keenan Allen. So he just doesn't have the touchdowns the other two guys. Like, Quentin Johnson is currently wide receiver 3, 4, or 5. I don't remember. I know Johnson, Pickens, and Roma Dunze are wide receivers 3, 4, and 5. I just can't remember the order off the top of my head right now, which is crazy to think about where we're at in this 1 month into the season. So I understand the concern over Lad McConkey. I think there is definitely, hesitation with playing him, but I don't know if I'm ready to hit the panic button so much that I'm going to trade for a backup running back for him.
It's true. So right now it is a Dunze 3, Johnston 4, Pickens 5.
Just like we all predicted.
Yeah, less like we all predicted. Emeka Buka 6, if you want to even just go deeper in here.
Yeah, so a weird season. I think you're seeing Keenan Allen, eat into some of the Lad McConkey slot role a little bit, or McConkey is just getting so much cover because of what he did last year that is opening up these other guys, and Johnson's hanging onto the ball, so he's getting more opportunities. But Lad McConkey, I think, will bounce back. It's a rough patch, and if you can move him, if you can throw him into a trade to upgrade your team, I'm all for that. It's just the Tootin aspect that I'm kind of thinking that's not quite enough to get.
I agree with Tootin's not enough, but when it comes to like sitting him on the bench and waiting, or seeing if you can get more than an RB2 on a team, I think then that's something that's on the table.
Alrighty, and then Keith from YouTube asks, it's PPR. He has Nix or Fields. And he's up 10 with Tyreek, Fields, or Nick, and he has Wilson.
Okay, facing Wilson, he has Tyreek, and you can pick Nix or Fields.
So Nix has the better matchup because he plays the Bengals. I mean, the Jets also are playing the Dolphins, so I think they're both good matchups. Fields didn't play last week. I'm leaning Fields slightly, and you tell me if this is too cute, because you can call me out on this.
Okay.
Almost as a block, because he has Wilson. So you already have Tyreek, and you're already up 10 points. So your last thing is you're playing Fields, because any touchdown he throws to Garrett Wilson is only a 2+2 versus a +6. So I think in this situation, even though Nix has a slightly better matchup, I lean Fields.
Yeah, no. And I want to just look here and just give the example, because I like looking at this. Playing defense like that is not a bad idea, because how often do you see a receiver outscore his quarterback? This week in particular, it happened, from what I can tell on the top end, one time. And it was Puka Nacua outscored Matt Stafford by a whole 2.1 points in half PPR. Full PPR, obviously, slightly bigger gap. But you really cut down on that by playing the quarterback who's throwing in the ball. So I don't even think Garrett Wilson's going to be the guy to get 13 or 10 catches. You're probably going to see 6 out of him, so the PPR doesn't hurt you as much. I would go with Fields, on top of that having the rushing upside too.
Yeah, I was going to say, did Romeo Doubs outscore Jordan Love? That was a little bit less receptions, and that was super touchdown dependent.
They were within a point.
Okay. But still, half PPR, and that took Dobbs 3 touchdowns to get within a half a point. So I would go Fields in this one, play defense, and good luck for this one. All right. We have another one from Adrian over on YouTube. He was offered JSN for Hampton. His squad is Jalen Hurts, CMC, Bucky, Justin Jefferson, McConkey, Devontae, Kelsey, Brees Hall. Hampton on the bench with Dobbins down, Jennings a lot. I mean, your team's stacked.
That is stacked.
So JSN for Hampton.
You're not going to sit CMC or Bucky. You're probably not going to sit Brees Hall, but you've got McConkey, and I'm assuming that's Devon. Is that? I mean, that's Devontae Smith. Yes, perfect, Devontae Smith. I would trade the running back for the receiver. I would take JSN.
Yeah, I think so too, because of we just talked about the little bit of scaredness or panic with McConkey. And I think the Eagles wide receivers are in that same conversation as well too. So, I mean, Hampton has looked great now that Najee Harris is gone, but JSN is a top tier wide receiver in fantasy right now. So I think that's a solid move for your team. And you do not need to apologize for making a long message. We were going to ask what's your team like. So thank you for joining in the chat. And I love that you guys are now interacting with each other in the chat. That is great. But George, are you ready for a little bit of a reality check?
Let's do it. So I will say, I actually had one of my reality check questions as, is it time to let Ladd McConkey ride the bench? We kind of talked about it when we were talking earlier, so I'm going to skip that one, just so you know, Cody, on the rundown.
Okay.
We're going to start at the top, though. Are the Ravens' playoff hopes slipping?
I mean, slipping, I feel like just naturally you have to say yes because of being 1-3 after 1 month. The question marks. I think if there is a team that is still stacked and loaded enough to turn it around, it is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm trying to pull up their schedule here. They've also had a really tough, they had to play the Lions already. They had to play the Chiefs. They played the Bills. So they've played their 3 of the 4, top teams in the league. And, they're going to get the Texans this week. They're going to get the Rams. They're going to get the Bears, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Browns. So, we're talking about how they did after their first month. Their next month is Texans, Rams, Bears, Ravens. Or, sorry, they are the Ravens, Dolphins. Can't even read. You'd think they have to get back to 500. You think they need to go 3-1 in this one to get back to 4-4. That's kind of where I am at with them. That Rams game is questionable, but it's at home. But the Rams are going to come off the long week. So for me, the Ravens, if they get back to 500 after their next chunk of 4 games, I think they'll be right back in it. But if they, start dropping games to the Texans, Bears, or Dolphins in 3 of their next 4 games, then I'm going to start to have some questions moving into the second half of the season.
Yeah, no, you can say that that's a very difficult stretch coming up because it is a bunch of solid teams, but they had the gauntlet to start the season. The only thing that concerns me is they haven't proven they can stop the run on defense, which was never a problem for them before. And in that stretch, they could be missing Lamar for at least a game. And there's a couple of pieces on defense to, sit that are going to be sitting for injury that makes me concerned. I think they need to at least go 2-2 or 3-1 in this next 4-week span. And I think they can do it because they have the offensive talent. They have Derrick Henry there still. They can still play enough on defense, but so I'm going to say no on the playoff hopes slipping yet, but I don't think they're as strong of a Super Bowl contender as we were expecting them to be at the beginning of the season.
That is a good point. I got a fan question here. Not about the Ravens.
Okay.
But just to sidetrack it here, over on Twitch, is it dirty? And it's a great question. Is it dirty to sit a defense being up a few points with the other team not having any players left?
Okay. I think I actually want to answer this with the rule book that we have in the World Cup in our League of Record, because we kind of addressed this. in saying it's okay because it's a gamesmanship play. Like we have in our rule book that you have to set a valid lineup, just try to keep everyone active even when they're out of it, except for when you may decide to like sit a defense to hold a lead or to sit a defense because you don't want to drop somebody for a bye and then like you can pick someone up that plays Monday night, for example, if you like in a close game. So personally, I don't think it's a dirty play. I think it's just playing the game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do not think it is dirty to sit a defense being up a few points. I know I've not played kickers because they can also, I don't like to play fantasy with kickers, but they can also get negative points, especially like it's unlikely. I mean, it takes a lot of points for a defense to score in the negative, but it can happen. I mean, just look at the Sunday night game. Did anyone predict that the Packers would finish negative in fantasy points against the Dallas Cowboys? Nope, they did. You're up, you're at enough points. I think it's safe to say don't play your defense.
Go lock up that win.
All right. Adrian's got another question. I'm just going to keep rolling with these questions. Oh, I realized he was talking to, he said but he should be good. All my buys are separated perfectly. That's
Cody,
good.
you're rolling on the chat right now. That's good. But I'll go back to the reality check. Is it time to sell high on a Mecha Buka?
Sell high.
Like I said, he's wide receiver 6 right now. And they just got back Godwin. We know that we have Evans injured but looming.
What is sell high? Let's put some names to, like, if you could get a Mecha Ibuka, like no one's going to give you a Mecha Ibuka for Jahmyr Gibbs. If you could, sure, I would do that. Right, but that's not in the realistic of sell high. So are we talking like, and no one's going to give you a Puka Nakua or anything like that. Those, but maybe someone that's like underperformed a little bit. Like, would you do a Mecha Buka for Derrick Henry?
I may do that. I was going to pull up some names too, so I like how you're going here. Yeah, I think I would do that.
Yeah, I think you would have like that would be a sell high candidate.
If you could somehow
sure.
pull CMC, but I know he's having a great year.
Yeah, CMC, I think that would be good. So
Josh Jacobs.
I mean, he did look good, but they were also. I don't know if I would do a Mecha Buka just because like he has not been averaging a ton of yards. Like he is very touchdown dependent. So especially in like half point, full point PPR, I think I would lean a Mecha Buka still. But like that one's like probably like the line.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
All right, we got to. I'm going to keep rolling these fan questions while we get to the next topic. So, another person from Twitch. I love all these people on Twitch. Hey guys, I'm tied with a guy I'm playing, and he has the Broncos, and I have either Fields or Nicks, Garrett Wilson, and the Jets D. Do you think I'm set up to win? Would you start Nicks or Fields? So we kind of talked about it, the Nicks versus Fields thing. You're not in the same situation because you also have Garrett Wilson. And I think you're definitely set up to win. You have a quarterback. He only has a defense barring for touchdown special teams or something like that. You should be good to go.
Yeah, so I don't think it really matters where you go, but I'm going to stick with the same answer as the other one. Go with Fields because of the rushing upside. Obviously, if he happens to throw a touchdown to Garrett Wilson, it helps you even more. But I think the rushing upside, and you should be fine either way, hopefully.
Alrighty. Another question over on YouTube from Weaseltown Gaming, which I don't even know if this is a reality check question, but we can turn it into one.
Okay.
If it's not, is it time to give up on the KC run game as a whole, or do you hold Pacheco for any potential upside?
I think you hold Pacheco. I still think Hunt is borderline hold because if they do figure out the run game, like he's in basically a 50-50 split, but I'm cool with dropping Hunt. Pacheco, I think you have to hold him. And I think we finally saw their pass game start to open up once they got Worthy back. I'm still looking 3 weeks down the road when they get back Rashee Rice too. And if that offense starts humming again, when they have everyone on the field, you have to think that if teams have to start playing back, that run game's got to at least get going a little bit.
Yes, and I also want to throw out another guy. And I actually heard about this last week from the Fantasy Footballers, which they're a great podcast, so you can definitely check them out. They do it every day. Impressive. But their 7th round pick, Brashad Smith, you got to see him get a little bit involved this past week, and not just when the game was out of hand, but his snap count has started to go up. He's a little bit of a receiving game. You've seen, the struggles with Pacheco. He was for the first time this past week under 50% of the snaps. Actually, Kareem Hunt out-snapped him for what that's worth, but that could also be some of it behind. So I say you can give up on Kareem Hunt. I would still hold Pacheco. I'm not trying to put him in my lineup, though. And then if you're looking at the waivers and, you're in a waiver system, you're not going to get some of the top guys, or you want to try to get a week or two early because you have the flexibility. You're not stuck with buys. And Brashad Smith, I think, could be a name to watch if he's another guy that could, a la Isaiah Pacheco, his rookie year, 7th round pick that started to make his noise and come in, could be an interesting name.
Cody's trying not to get caught behind the 8 ball like he was with Woody Marks.
Nope. I'm not doing that.
Oh my gosh. That was good. Thank you.
He did have to get 2 touchdowns after I'm like, oh, I don't buy the Woody Mark things. Gets in the end zone twice.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, you got a good call on the Romeo Dobbs last week, so I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew, for the reality check question. That's Andrew T, if you did not know.
I did not know, but I'm glad you're watching.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to the Eagles. What do we do with the Eagles wide receivers?
I don't know. Try to get AJ Brown for when he gets traded at the deadline.
Oh my gosh.
That's what the Eagles media is. You live 2 hours from I live 2 hours from the city. You live what, an hour from the city?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, the tweet. Oh, he's gonna want out. He's had enough. He got a Super Bowl ring. He wants to go somewhere else now. I don't actually think any of that's true, but I had to throw the jab in there because that's what Philadelphia media is trying to tell us.
No, there's other trades I've heard that could happen at the deadline, not involving the Eagles, that I would believe a lot more than AJ Brown being dealt. If AJ Brown's going to be dealt, it's going to be after the season, in the offseason, if they just decide to mutually part ways. But that's not happening for a team that's 4-0, trying to repeat. And it's just because, obviously, he's a receiver. He wants to be involved. He's obviously a game-changing receiver who's seen it before. And the Eagles offense is struggling as a whole right now. They're not even running the ball well like they were last year. And when it comes to fantasy, it's hard to bench AJ, but I am starting to think maybe there's times that you do. Devontae Smith, he is playing a lot like Zay Flowers did last year, where he's going to drop you 20 and then he's going to get 2 and 4. It's hard to play him on a consistent basis too. So I'm leaning towards you're fading your expectations on AJ, but he's in the lineup for now, and Devontae Smith is on your bench for bye weeks.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Brown's kind of in that Ladd McConkey thing. It hurts to put him in your lineup, but if you drafted one of those, and I know by now people are playing Emeka Egbuka, right? But that was a later round guy that might supersede it, and you're gonna have to play the matchups in general. What might this team do? But I would always say even with Ladd McConkey and AJ Brown, these guys have extremely high ceilings. They're not even getting close to them in these coming weeks. I'm not throwing, I'm not playing Khalil Shakur over an AJ Brown. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing, I'm not taking a flyer on X, Y, and Z over AJ Brown, because when that one game that he hits could be a massive game for you. It's frustrating. I get it. It's a part of fantasy, but I think the Eagles are just, their offense is in a rut. They're scoring because they can block kicks and return for touchdowns. I don't know what that's about. And they can play one good half. Once they start playing one good game, people will start getting more fantasy points.
It's true. And it's not even none of them are getting fantasy points. Saquon still seems to get his touchdown and have a decent week. Jalen Hurts is still getting enough fantasy points to be like, well, that was a good week for him. I'm surprised that no one else got points. And I don't know where they're going half the time. Dallas Goedert.
Well, there's a lot of like, I mean, Hurts has always been, inflated fantasy wise because of his running ability.
Yep.
Which is no knock on him, but that he's always been inflated with that. Barkley always seems to find, it's a higher likelihood he's going to get at least one touchdown. And if he gets one touchdown, you're looking at double-digit fantasy days, so you're not feeling as bad for it. Where like A.J. Brown, they're not getting the passing touchdowns, so to speak. So even like a 4-catch, 40-yard day is 6 points, right? Like that seems so low for a guy like A.J. Brown.
It's true. And that's kind of what we're seeing as an average right now. So I'm with you. I think that's a good point. If you had somebody on your bench that kind of has broken out that you can put in your lineup over him, I don't mind that, but I wouldn't be going out there playing flyers just yet.
Would you play Quentin Johnson over A.J. Brown?
Is he going to keep going at wide receiver 4? I mean, at this point, I feel like I have to. I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Seems a little biased right there.
Oh, okay, thanks. Setting me up.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that was George Pickens, like Roma Dunze, like it'll be hard to not play those guys over AJ Brown. And honestly, I think you can find a spot elsewhere than pull AJ Brown out of your lineup. Like, who's your flex? Like, how good is your real team to like not play AJ? But it is an interesting conversation.
It's true. So always remember we're here for lineup advice anytime. But
and bye week starts this week. So
that too. Yeah. So you're gonna find places for him to go in your lineup just there too. But we're always here Thursdays talking about the week ahead too. So feel free to drop your lineups in the chat on Thursdays at 6:30 East, and we will help you set your lineup as well. To the Giants, is Jackson Dart the real deal? He beat the Chargers.
No, maybe. I don't know. Real deal. I feel like I got more vibes of like, oh, they did something. This is a new head coach. They kind of got an extra burst of energy. They'll come back to life a little bit. The Chargers, West Coast team coming at 1:00. That tends to lead to slow starts. They lose their left tackle, and it starts to cause some issues, on the offensive line. And, the Chargers are still in it to the very end. It wasn't like Jackson Dart put up a masterful performance. He holds the ball too long at times, which is very typical of a rookie. So is he better than Russell Wilson? Probably. Is he better than Jameis Winston? I don't know about that. I just want to get George's question.
I don't know if he's better than Russell Wilson even quite yet. Like, I think there's a lot of... Go ahead.
I didn't mean better as like an actual player. I meant better for the Giants moving forward.
Oh, yeah, that, yes, you're right.
Sorry, I should have clarified.
Fair. But I mean, I think, he won that game and everyone's like, Jackson Dart, it's legit. And I look at the stats and he went 13 of 20 for 111 yards and a touchdown and ran the ball 10 times for 54 yards and a touchdown. Like, I mean, I know I'm a fan of a team that has stat lines from their quarterback like that all the time, but it doesn't feel like they won that game. It feels like the Chargers lost that game from when I was looking at it. It was like the Chargers couldn't get anything going on offense. Their defense still held the Giants down fairly well. It's just the Giants never took it.
Yeah, and they got a good break from, I believe it was an interception from, it was a missed, one thing that led to the other, and it gave an interception for the Giants. But he did take 5 sacks, like
2. So
yeah, but there was one late that was kind of like all that really stinks. It felt like the Chargers were going to go, tie the game or potentially win it. But the one thing you did ask about, and maybe we'll transition this question to more fantasy, is Jackson Dart real? The 10 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's where it's intriguing for fantasy. Like, is he worth a pickup? Is he worth to get on that streaming list? Because 10 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown, that's 11 points, not even talking about what he did through the air.
It's very true. I mean, when you and I both started looking at it, we were like, why are the Giants using him as like a wildcat quarterback when they still had Wilson in the lineup? But it kind of seems like this is the game he's going to play at quarterback. So I don't mind having him in the streaming conversation. If you're weak at quarterback, speculative ad, sure. But I still think there's better options out there. But if he's going to end up being a potential fantasy quarterback, that's where it's going to happen. It's not going to happen by throwing for 3 touchdowns every week and 250 yards. It's going to be, can he throw for 150 and run for a score? That's how he's going to get his points.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles might sack him 7 times this week.
I don't think they play each other this week. No,
they not?
Giants have the Saints.
Oh, you're right. That's because, sorry,
All right, stream him this week. Here you go. Week 5, Jackson Dart in your lineup.
I mean, the Saints are not very good, but for 3 quarters, they held the Bills in check in Buffalo.
That's true. They actually played a fantastic game this past week. It didn't look good on the final score, but when you consider it was I think it was a 2-point game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, there was so, I mean, Cameron Jordan's still playing really good. Curtis Granderson. There's a lot of fun. I'm not streaming Jackson Dart. He will not be my stream of the week, but if you want to pick him, feel free.
We'll talk about it more on Thursday after I have a chance to look a little deeper, but the matchup seems fantastic, even though they did hold the Bills down. I want to move on to another wide receiver topic. Will Puka Nacua beat Michael Thomas's single season receptions record? I can't say that word apparently. The record's 149. Puka is currently on pace for 178, and Thomas broke it in 16 games, not 17. So his 16 game pace is 168. That is almost 20 over the record in pace.
Is he going to break it? Heck yeah. If he stays healthy, he's going to break it. That's for sure. I mean, we are, 1 month into the season?
Mm-hmm.
And he's on pace for 200. I mean, like you just said, 168.
168 in a 16 game season.
Yeah. If I just do 16 games, because that makes the math easier, just times everything he has right now by 4. That's 168, 200 targets, 2,000 yards, but only 4 touchdowns, which that would be kind of wild.
That would be the greatest yet most frustrating fantasy season for a receiver ever. It's like this guy had 2,000 receiving yards and 200 targets, 168 catches, and he scored 4 touchdowns. And it's like he's still going to be like right neck and neck with some of these receivers that score 12, 13 touchdowns just because of all those points he'd miss out on.
Yeah, I think Puka is, I mean, they just pepper him with the ball. I think he is going to come very close to that record, especially with the extra game, as long as he stays healthy. And honestly, the way he's playing right now, like, he looks like the offensive player of the year. Again, it's not even October yet, so you don't want to get too excited. Like, you've seen how fast things have changed in the NFL, but he's a big reason why the Rams are playing as well as they are.
He's opening up people around him too. Like, it's crazy to be like, yeah, Puka is having a career year, but Devontae Adams still looks fantastic. They're still running the ball well with Kyron Williams. Blake Corum's even looking good. Like, they are impressive right now.
Yeah, the Rams look real good. They might have, 1 run left in them with Matt Stafford, and so far to start the season, they look legit. I mean, they're a blocked field goal away from being undefeated.
Exactly.
So,
and then I have one more fantasy question, but not about a specific player. So if you guys missed it, the early game in Dublin, Jaylen Warren was a late scratch. A lot of people, especially on the West Coast, still asleep when that game started and didn't have a chance to take Warren out of their lineup, or, weren't, paying attention enough the night before, whatever it ends up being. Sleeper was kind of on the trail on social media talking about how they have injury subs, or you can designate subs for if somebody's inactive in your lineup. Do you think more fantasy leagues should allow injury subs?
I mean, Sleeper is not a sponsor of this show, but I will give them credit for being innovators in the space and quickly becoming my favorite platform. to be a part of. I will say, when this first was announced, I was a little skeptical, but the way they do it is so well done. You have to, it's not you get to just sub a guy out. You say Jalen Warren, and then you click, basically, essentially click injury sub, or I don't know what the exact title is.
Yeah.
And then you designate that player as the swap, which is nice. Where it's really nice is because if you have to do it before they play, but that also carries over to Monday. It's not just the early game on Sunday. Oh, I forgot. Oh, this guy's questionable for the Monday night game. Well, I really want to play, hypothetically, I really want to play Justin Jefferson, but he's questionable. And any other week, but instead of saying, but I'm going to designate this guy on Sunday at the 1:00 game to be his replacement if he doesn't go, I'll know what the points are because it's going to happen. It might not be enough. It might be, but I think it is definitely worth monitor, or it's a good strategy. It's a good thing to add to the fantasy platforms if it's done right, where you have to designate the players early. Like, it should not be oh, he was inactive, let me sub him for a guy at 1:00 just because I check my lineup at 12:30 Eastern time before the game start.
I feel like 2018, 2019, we would have been like, no, there's no way that this should happen. And then you remember in our league of record, we actually had a rule similar to this during COVID because we didn't know like how many people would be late scratches with a positive COVID test or anything like that. So that I feel like that rule there, we probably weren't the only ones to do it, kind of carried over to becoming a more permanent thing. And the point is, like, Sleeper has been fantastic at innovating the game, and there's so many things that they do that are super, you know, people don't agree with. But look at how much the fantasy has changed since you and I started playing. Like, half PPR wasn't even a thing. PPR was barely a thing back when you and I started playing. And now, almost every league's a PPR league, half PPR. A lot of people find, like us, that's a very good mix. Kickers were always involved in fantasy. A lot of leagues are getting rid of kickers. Like, there's so many things that have changed that the way I like this is that it makes it interesting that you're not going to have as many people have lineups that are invalid or inactive. And it's always more fun when people are scoring more points and have active lineups. It also makes it easier for, we're busy, we're adults at this point, and sometimes you have things come up and you can't, keep an eye on your lineup at 11:30 a.m. on a Sunday. But you have that insurance policy there that you're still going to be able to play a competitive lineup, a competitive team. So I really like the idea, but I agree with you. It just needs to be done right, where you have to designate this person before both people play, to make it actually fair.
All right, you ready to hit the waiver wire?
I am. Let's do it. My favorite part of the waiver wire segment is when I get to go back and talk about somebody that Cody did dismissed last week. First guy, I'm starting with running backs, is Woody Marks.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you got to add him. I guess if I backtrack, think maybe I was being a little bit too arrogant with. I mean, the Browns are not the Browns. They were a part of the trade, but they also just traded their left tackle, and like their offensive line was already terrible, right? So like,
he wasn't playing last week, by the way. He was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, I get that, but like their offense, I know he wasn't playing, but their offensive line is already pretty bad. They're playing arguably the worst team in the league. He got 2 touchdowns. I need to see it one more week to like fully, or maybe 2 more weeks to fully like be on like, okay, Woody Marks is the guy in Houston. Or like, am I going to play him next week and Nick Chubb gets 2 touchdowns, or, and it's just like one of those, nasty backfields. Do the, Texans go back to not being able to score points? Like, those are all questions you have to have when you think about Woody Marks. But in terms of top guys, in terms of opportunity, no one else in front of him, like, he seems to be, near the upper echelon of guys you should target this week.
Yeah, he's definitely worth the ad. I think until we hear anything about Joe Mixon, I feel pretty comfortable with him now because Nick Chubb hasn't really done anything to take the job away, which is why they're looking elsewhere. But I worry if and when we hear Joe Mixon is being activated off of IR, what the backfield's going to look like. So I'm tempering expectations long term, but short term, I think Woody Marks is a good fill. And especially if you have a bye week in week 5 and can throw him right in there, I think you're okay.
Alrighty, who is next on the list?
A little bit more of a if or whatever ad. Kenny Gainwell. We obviously had the Jalen Warren situation where he was inactive late last week before his game. If there's no Jalen Warren again, Kenny Gainwell can go right in your lineup, in my opinion, but I'm not playing him if Warren's active.
I would agree with that. I mean, he's been okay as an RB2. Like we talked about this real early on. Like, yeah, you could probably go ahead and cut Caleb Johnson. And even with Warren out, like it still seems like, yeah, you don't need Caleb Johnson on your team at this time. Maybe that changes in the second half of the season. But as of right now, he wasn't a big part of the game on Sunday. Kenny Gainwell looked really good. If Warren's back, I think he jumps right back into that role. And it just he scored 2 touchdowns. Like, so his week looks really good, but I don't think that's an every week occurrence either.
Agreed there. And I feel like the running back waiver wire market has been kind of frustrating this year. I don't know if you agree or not. And it's been a lot of like grabbing guys who have potential upside, grabbing guys who are handcuffs, that kind of thing. There's been a lot of rumors over the past few days that one of the biggest guys who will get traded at the trade deadline in the NFL is Alvin Kamara. Which means a guy you want to own ahead of the curve is Kendre Miller, who actually had double-digit carries last week as well and has gotten a slightly bigger workload every week. So I haven't seen Kendre Miller very high on people's radars around, fantasy circles, but I am kind of thinking potential speculative ad.
No, I like that a lot. The trade rumors are definitely a buzzing around Alvin Kamara, and you're starting to see him like he's still being used, but maybe even a little bit of protecting his trade value, right? Like if he goes down, he doesn't have the trade value. Let's see what we got in Kendre. Let's protect Kamara. Kamara's going to look real good in Kansas City, and Kendre is going to look real good in your fantasy lineups.
So there's a big speculative ad. And then I can move to another speculative ad, somebody who's coming off of injured reserve, somebody who might be on some people's stashed roster, Jalen Coker.
I think I have him in my IR spot on either the World Cup or our league record. I don't remember which one it is, but I have him. The Panthers' offense is scary. I mean, because they are pretty inconsistent right now. But it seems like they're missing, a reliable guy that Jalen Coker was, and there was a lot of buzz for him at the beginning of the season. So I would definitely speculatively add him as the 4-week window is up. See if he starts to open up his practice window, works his way back. Not a guy I'm putting right in my lineup. Even if I need someone for a bye week, I'm not doing it. But he is definitely a guy I'm willing to stash for a couple weeks.
Definitely. And I mean, ideal situation, him and Tet get better by having somebody else there to take some attention off. And then you can still open up the run game with Chuba Hubbard as well. And that can be your 3-headed fantasy monster there. Obviously, that's an idealistic situation, but Jalen Coker had a solid finish to the season last year. And hopefully he can start to pick it back up when he gets off of IR. Next guys I have on the waiver wire are the Giants receivers. So obviously the guy everyone's looking at is Wan'Dale Robinson, but I also want to put some feelers out there on Darius Slayton as well.
That's an interesting name that I haven't heard for a while. If you would ask me if he's still a Giant, I would not have been able to tell you yes or no. So that's always fun. Before I give you my thoughts, shout out to Frizzle YouTube. Hey, it's going good. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, I mean, we talked about the inconsistency with Jackson Dart. But the other guys there, I'm going to read you their names. Jalen Hyatt, you've heard of. He just has never lived up to that second-round pick.
Yep.
He's more of a big play stretch. Maybe he'll start to get worked in, but it doesn't feel that way. Then their other guys are Bo Collins, Gunner, Oleskowy.
Kocheski.
No, it's not. There's no C. It's Ozeswesk. Bro, I don't even know
I'm
how to
pretty
pronounce
sure
that.
it's. I've heard the name before. He's a kick returner, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if there's it can't be Chesky because there's no C or K except the second to last letter.
This is English. It doesn't make sense. Why are you trying to make it make sense?
All right, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT how to. I need you to vamp. I need to know how to pronounce this.
Anyway, is there anybody else on that depth chart while you're
No,
looking? No, that's it.
no, the other ones are hurt.
Okay, there you go. So, and then when you look at it, they didn't play a full game without Malik Neighbors, obviously, but Darius Slayton was their leading receiver last week. And I personally am not a big Wan'Dale Robinson guy. I feel like he's been very wishy-washy and like he has a great game, everyone adds him, and then he disappears. And that's kind of how he's always been in his career. He's also had injury problems. So I don't mind adding Darius Slayton, who in defense, he also has had injury problems, but he is, I think, has been a more consistent fantasy receiver when he's been given an opportunity than Wan'Dale Robinson has.
I'm on the other boat. I hear you, but Wan'Dale's still the younger guy. I think there's still a little bit more unknown potential. Like at this point, we know what Darius Slayton is. And so I would, between those two guys, I am picking Wan'Dale, and it's Olszewski.
Olszewski?
Yep.
Okay. He's basically a kick returner, though, from what I understand. So,
yeah, but watch that clip 5 times back and me trying to say that name.
I'll just put it on loop on TikTok for anyone out there that's interested, and you can laugh at it in the comments.
All right. So Frizzle threw another question in here.
Okay.
Did something dumb, so feel free to roast me. Trade away Kyron and Ted McMillan for Breece Hall, Chase Brown, and Keon Coleman. Let me have it. I know. So I don't think it's. When did you make? We don't need to know when you made this trade. I mean, on the surface, I hear you about the Kyron and Ted McMillan, but we just talked about how the Panthers are a little bit inconsistent. And Kyron is really good, but they also like to get Blake Corum involved. The Breece Hall, Chase Brown, like I see why that was tantalizing enough to take. The Keon Coleman has not. After week 1, we thought he was going to be something, and he has not been back to that. So I get that aspect of it too. But I still really like Chase Brown. So I'd love to roast you. That sounds a lot of fun, but I actually don't hate this trade. I don't know if it's dumb. It might not work out for you, but I wouldn't say dumb.
I think you probably lost the trade, but I don't think it's horrible either. I think Kyron's the best player in the trade, but especially if you're a running back needy, you can at least play Breece Hall, Chase Brown, both of them, and get decent weeks, at least out of one of them most times. Like, I think a lot of people were benching Breece Hall in week 2, if I remember correctly, and I think that was a little bit of an overreaction, but like he's not going to be somebody that is going to be on your bench most cases. I actually see he put an update, so I'll throw it up here, Cody. His starting running backs were Kyron and Travion. Thought process was he wanted workhorse running backs. No, that's exactly what I'm going with. I think that's fine. I don't think Keon Coleman's going to work super well, but you never know if at the end of the year he comes back and has a better second half. But you improved your running back room for sure. And Ted has a lot of hype behind him, but he hasn't completely turned it into production yet.
Yeah. So not a terrible trade. Don't beat yourself up too bad for it. You already put that up there. My bad. All right. We are going to now talk about the one guy on waiver wires that I don't think you should spend your fab on this week. Although I did call him out for having a big game, and he delivered with a 3-touchdown performance. That is Romeo Doubs. And the reason I'm saying don't spend all your fab this week is Packers are on bye. He ain't going to help you out. And guess what? They're either come out of the bye. Christian Watson's going to probably start practicing. They're going to probably want to find ways to get Matthew Golden involved. I'm not chasing the Romeo Doubs points.
You're not chasing the Romeo Doubs points. I don't mind adding him if you can add him for free because it's his bye week and stash him. I think Romeo Doubs is trying to work out that, reliable number 1 role, but I know they still have the young guy in Matthew Golden. They haven't had
Watson.
Yeah, that's it. I've been forgetting about him because he hasn't been on the field for the last 2 years, basically. Christian Watson, we don't
That
know.
was uncalled for.
I'm sorry. That was a low blow. My bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Christian
but
Watson truther over here. So
so there's still so many mouths to feed. But like I think there's a role for him. I just don't know how consistent he's going to be. I don't mind having him on the bench if you can get him for free.
yeah, but he had the Packers put up 40 points last week, and he had a massive 3 touchdown performance. But how many catches did he have? 6, maybe 7. I don't know what his final stat. I don't remember what his final. I gotta look that up.
I got you. Keep talking.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, they still like to throw the ball around. Tucker Kraft's going to be a big part of it. Matthew Golden was a first round pick. They're going to want to try to get him more involved. They're still a run first team. As much as they're struggling to run it, they want to be the run first team, do the play action stuff. So, I guess to George's point, if you can get him for free because he is, available and has a buy, but I'm not spending any fab on him.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend any fab on him either there. 6 for 58 and 3 touchdowns. Actually, the same amount of yards as Matthew Golden, but 1 extra catch.
Yes. But Matthew Golden also just had that big play.
Yeah, it was a lot of small stuff and then 1 big play for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just finish off waiver wire really quick. So tight end dart throw of the week is Dalton Schultz. He's been between 4 and 6 targets the beginning of the year so far. So if you need somebody out there, he's our shot, but it's literally a dart throw at the tight end position. Cody, a couple more fan questions. You want to get to them?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Carson on YouTube. Would you take Woody Marks and a 2026 first round pick for Derrick Henry?
So dynasty questions are always tough. Woody Marks on a first round pick for Derrick Henry. If you are in win now mode, yes. But I'm going to assume that they're thinking you're going to sell because you have Derrick Henry. Really, the Woody Marks thing does not move me at all. Like, I'll be completely honest, especially in dynasty. Like, I don't think he is a, guy they're going to build around. Maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll have to wait and see. But it's really, would you do a first round pick for Derrick Henry? If you're in a win now mode, I would. And I guess if you're in a sell now mode too, get out of Derrick Henry because it is the dynasty and he is, going into his year 32 season, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think either way, I'd probably do this trade.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if you're win now, you're probably you're going with the Henry side. If you're selling, if you don't think you're contending, I would take Marks in the first. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, if you are competing, that's where I wouldn't do it. Like, if you're competing and giving up Derrick Henry, I would not do that.
Yeah. Another YouTube question. I'm going to call you Hop because I don't know how to say your name, but I'm sorry there. Hey guys, how's the day going? We're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. What do you think about trading away Mason and Tootin for Godwin and Swift?
Do it.
Yeah. I'm taking Godwin and Swift.
I mean, you're losing out on 2 running backs, but you're getting a starter. And I know Mason is technically the starter, but he has not done enough with this starting role over the last couple of weeks to not think that Aaron Jones is going to get back into a 50-50 split when he is healthy.
Yep.
So I would take this trade.
And I mean, that's even us saying there's potential with Godwin to be wide receiver 3 when when everyone's back there. And I still think I would take the starting running back and the potential of Godwin.
Yep, I'm with you.
One more from Sam on YouTube. Jaden for Nico. I have Drake May.
Yep.
Yes, I think Drake May is good enough that you can have him or pair him with somebody off the wire and make it work and get a top end wide receiver for a quarterback. Yes, I would do that too.
Unless you're in like a double flex league. My only
a super flex or 2 quarterback. Yeah, then that's a little different.
But yeah, I'm assuming you're not because you didn't put that. So yeah, I would take Jaden for Nico. Although Jaden is expected to be back this week, so I'd still do it.
Yes, because you're not going to be able to trade a quarterback for a top end piece too often, at least in leagues that I am used to. I don't know about you.
Yeah, think so too. Frizzle updated some of, if you remember his talks about the running backs, his trade. He talked about with Tech gone, his room is CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Matthew Golden, Luther Burden, Keon Coleman, Jalen Coker. He also has Woody Marks, and I could use the hype to sell for a wide receiver too if needed. I don't mind that as all, especially with CD out the next couple of weeks. Drake London is solid. We're going to get Jalen Coker back. If you could, pair a Woody Marks with a Keon Coleman, maybe. I don't think Matthew Golden or Luther Burden have done enough. Burden had that one nice play on the flea flicker. That was a big touchdown against Dallas. I don't know if they've done enough to upgrade your room too much, but I would start throwing a Marks and a Coleman or a Marks and a Matthew Golden if you got a Packers fan in your league, or a Luther Burden if you got a Bears fan in your league, and try to buy them on potential to get a guy. Don't do anything crazy, but if you wanted to get like a solid wide receiver option, I think you could do it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a good move, and that's a decent team. I think you can make that work for you, especially when CD gets back. If you can survive until then, I think that top end wide receiver back end is going to be good for you. You want to touch on Monday Night Football really quick here?
Yeah, we should, even though we already missed one game as it has already kicked off. Just so quick update, it is 3-0 with 2 minutes and 50 some seconds left in the first quarter. The Dolphins are ahead, have the ball. Seems like it's been a pretty low scoring game though. Not a lot of offense. Darren Waller's leading receiver.
I was gonna say I'm changing my tight end dart throw of the week to Darren Waller.
Yeah, on his one catch for 14 yards. So
in the first quarter. No, I mean, he's somebody who I was a little sad I couldn't get back in Dynasty because I had him. We had, the retirement. They let him off her roster, and then you can have him back, but his contract expired, so I couldn't get him back. But in like redrafts, not worried about it right now. But obviously down the road, there's a chance. The Dolphins used the tight end heavily last year, and they brought this guy out of retirement for a reason. So he's someone I'm keeping an eye on.
So just as I'm looking into this game, the Dolphins punched the ball out at the half-yard line as Braylon Allen was going into the end zone.
And that's why Breece Hall should get the goal line touches. That's speaking as a Breece Hall owner.
So, and Fields already has 30 rushing yards in 3 attempts. So hopefully the people that were on earlier played him. There is a second game because this is, the Monday night doubleheader that we're going to get a couple more times this year. But Bengals at Broncos. I need Jake Browning to score 20-some points because I forgot to pick up a quarterback thinking Jaden Daniels is going to be back. So I'm rolling with Jake Browning versus the Broncos in a league. So I'm not feeling great about that one. I think I'm just going to take the L, get my first loss in that league.
You gave yourself a shot, but I don't like your chances there too much either. But I don't think they're going to be held down as bad as they were last week. I think you can get decent games out of Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. I hope not that many people played T. Higgins in this matchup. Advised against that one, but maybe you had to. I expect the Broncos to handle it though.
I need a big Chase game to not go 0-4 in our league of record.
You'll be right there with me, pal, unless I have a big game out of some running backs that include Devon Achane in this game that started already. So a couple more fan questions before we get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. Should I trade Javonte and Worthy for Bijan Robinson?
Yeah. Don't even ask that.
Javante's been fantastic. I get the upside on Worthy, but I would take the blue chip player for sure.
Yeah, I'm taking Bijan for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, trade Bowers, Ibuka, and Judkins for McBride, Rashee Rice, and J.K. Dobbins. I'm 4-0. I'm digging a little bit here. So I don't think there's a huge drop off between Bowers and McBride.
No, I'm keeping Bowers, Ibuka, and Judkins.
Judkins is just coming up, and we think Dobbins is going to go down. Rashee Rice could be a wide receiver when he comes back, but he obviously hasn't played in forever either. We don't know. I think I'm keeping Bowers, Ibuka, and Judkins too.
Yeah. All right, and then one more follow-up question with Frizzle, since we know his team right now. He was looking at it, which I appreciate, listening and looking up, trying to make those moves. Who has Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb as the starting running back, so that's tough. He owns JSN and Nico, would be offering Woody, Travion, and Keon way too much for Nico or JSN. I do not think so. I don't think he'll take it.
I don't know if he'll take it either, but maybe he will. But no, I don't think that that's too much at all for trying to get a wide receiver 1.
Yeah. Good luck. Anything else, George?
No, appreciate all the interaction out there. I hope we were helpful to some people. It was good talking with you again, and I'm looking forward to doing it again on Thursday. So everyone here, looking forward to hearing from you again on Thursday as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great episode. Great time to chat. So we all are. Thanks again for checking out another episode of the Couch GMs podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch live 6:30 Monday and Thursday throughout the NFL season. We'll be back on Thursday breaking more down, getting you ready for week 5. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth, and I'll talk to you all next week.